Hi there, Richard Brook here. So I want to talk about one of my favourite subjects today. So I want to talk about the mind. I've also got a couple of other videos similar to this, one called Understanding Your Mind and the other one called The 5 Elements of Your Mind. So if you like this subject matter, great thing to go and check out. So it still really amazes me that we've reached all this way through to 2019 with all these ways of identifying what's going on in the body, all the different advances in science. But yet when it comes to the mind, it can still be a bit of a mystery. And I think the primary thing I want to get across in this video is actually understanding the nature of some of your thoughts, now they're actually connecting to what's going on in the body. And there's a number of reasons I want to do this. The first one actually is because I'm from quite a spiritual background, I suppose. I used to do lots of meditation and things like that. And even within the kind of spiritual community, sometimes what's going on in your mind is somehow seen as a bit of an enemy. It's something to push away from you. So I know even when I first found meditation, I guess one of my intentions with it was to try and somehow transcend the mind. Didn't enjoy the mind. We don't like the mind, we don't like what we're thinking. So I'm trying to find mechanisms to kind of get away from it. So that's kind of a self-motivated way to distract myself from the contents of my mind. And I've also sat over time in many spiritual groups, I've been to satsangs and things like that, where as soon as you actually start to articulate the fact that you're even thinking of something, it's almost considered like some kind of crime. And obviously with meditation practice as a whole, it's considered like the Holy Grail, or for whatever reason we've got this perception that the intention of meditation is also to try and still the mind, or that having a totally empty mind is, somehow how we're meant to function, and if our mind is busy, that there's something wrong with us. But also, equal to that, even if you're not into spirituality, isn't the mind just such a difficult thing to cope with sometimes? We do anything we can sometimes to avoid the contents of the mind. We pull the phone back out of the pocket, look at what's going on the phone, we read the newspaper, we put the TV on, we kind of get diving into the laptop, anything we can, which kind of disengages from going on with what's inside, with being with what's inside. And I want to let you know that the origin and root of a lot of your thoughts that you actually experience in the mind are actually directly linked to some of the organs in the body. And this, for me, is quite a simple identification that I've got no real idea why it's not more prevalent within alternative philosophy, and natural medicine. Once you start to understand this, it enables you to take ownership for some of your thoughts and maybe understand why they're actually happening. So your thoughts link to functions in the body, organs that are in the body. And the organs in the body are actually connected also to areas of your life. So what you've got a body-mind connection, but you've also got an environment-body-mind connection. So once you start to understand the nature of your thoughts, you can identify which organs they relate to. And then you can work out which area of your life those organs also relate to. So you can see that sometimes along that pathway, there's an issue. So if there's an issue in a certain area of your life, it creates an imbalance within the organs, which then generates thoughts and feelings of a certain nature. And just like any other part of our body, like arms or legs or whatever, we don't really seek to disown them. We're quite okay with generally owning the exterior of our body, but yet we cease to run away from what's actually going on inside. So essentially, the contents of your mind are made up of two main areas. It's made up of your external senses, so sight, sound, taste, touch and smell, and the internal senses, which we call the 5 elements. So I was just talking a second ago about how different organs link into thought forms. We pair organs together and put them within an element. So, for example, the liver and gallbladder are paired together as your wood element, your heart and small intestine, your pericardium, what we call the triple heater, your fire element, stomach and spleen is your earth element, lungs and large intestine are your metal element, and the kidney and bladder are your water element. So again, what you hear talking to you in your mind is input that's coming from outside the body, sight, sound, taste, touch and smell. and input that's coming directly from organs that are talking to you. So again, really important to grasp that. There is also like a third area of thoughts that we get, which is sometimes a little bit like junk mail. So that's stuff that's floating through the mind that we might have picked up from outside, and sometimes it can be transitory, so it can just be stuff that someone's told us, and sometimes it becomes a bit more deeply embedded into the body. But we can deal with that another time. What we're more interested in today is identifying the direct link between particular types of narrative that you hear in your mind and which organs are talking to you. So we'll go through them in order. So your liver and gallbladder as part of your wood element. When you hear your liver and gallbladder talking to you, it comes with a quality of making plans and decisions, because your liver and gallbladder connect to the part of you as a human being, which are kind of to do with driving you forwards in life and giving you clarity of vision and direction. So when you hear your liver and gallbladder talking to you, it'll often be when you're thinking about, okay, what do I need to do then? How am I going to get there? Like kind of working out logistics. And that can be on a very immediate basis, like how you're going to navigate getting across the road when it's a busy road, all the way through to how are you going to navigate through your life to get you to your intended and highest potential goal. So that's the job of the liver and gallbladder, is to have some kind of vision about how you're going to get where you need to go. So again, it can happen on an immediate basis, and the liver and gallbladder also chats away to you about how you're kind of going to get to your destination in a greater sense. So depending on how your own personal liver and gallbladder are calibrated and how they're doing and whether they're stressed, sometimes those voices come really strongly, and sometimes it kind of lacks a little bit of clarity, shall we say. So sometimes we're not particularly clear about where we're going and how we're going to get there, and sometimes we can be very rigid about it. So the area of your life that relates to, if you're hearing a lot of planning and decision making going on, it could well be that the area of your life of maybe your career, or something like your occupation, just something that you really need to be doing to fulfill your soul, and you're not doing it, then your liver and gallbladder will kind of be piping up and talking to you a lot about like how you're going to get there, what you're going to do to get there. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at is the fire element. Talking about the heart and the small intestine, and these are the two heart functions. And so when you hear voices in your head that are talking about passion and joy and connection and intimacy, that's coming from the heart. And so in our everyday language, we're also often a lot clearer about this. It's something we often articulate just generally to our friends when we say something like, yes, I was really heart open, or I felt really heartbroken. So we do recognise this link between our heart and these aspects of the mind that are to do with connection and passion and intimacy. So again, if you're getting lots of thoughts around that area, you might want to look at that area of your life. If you've got someone or a group of people that you're close to, so it's nourishing your heart. Are you doing the things that you're passionate about? So again, it's quite simple. You can look at that environment, body, mind, connection. Third element, earth element, stomach and spleen. So when your stomach and spleen is talking to you, again, it's a bit more of an obvious one, because we talk about the stomach and being hungry and feeling content. We've got a nice full feeling in our stomach or belly. And so yeah, your stomach and spleen, earth element, talks to you about having this sense of comfort and feeling at ease and having your basic needs met. So just in the same way that you get hungry, that you hear these thoughts in your mind about not feeling comfortable and needing to eat. So if your general life landscape isn't comfortable, maybe your living situation, then your stomach and spleen will be chattering away to you, asking you to create more comfort, to nourish yourself better, to have more comforting relationships, maybe more things that comfort the body. Okay, so the fourth element, metal element, comes from the lungs and large intestine. And when your lungs and large intestine are talking to you, it's about inspired thought. So we often think about the lungs, again, generally we get this idea that when we've got our chest open, we feel expanded, like this idea of people being on top of a mountain and breathing in. So when you're having thoughts that are to do with inspiration, like the air's coming in, like you're getting this floating in on the breeze, you're getting these ideas that are coming in, that's connected to the function of the lungs. And the function of the large intestine is a bit more concerned about getting rid of things that you don't need. So just about the same way as it happens in the body, that the large intestine's function is to get rid of your waste. In your mind, it will be creating thoughts that are associated to do with clearing up clutter and trash and getting rid of things you don't need anymore. So when you hear those thoughts in your mind, it comes from your lungs and large intestine. Okay, and the final category of thoughts that we hear comes from the kidney and bladder, which we call the water elements. Whereas your liver and gallbladder was concerned with creating thoughts about planning and decision making and moving forward, the kidney and bladder are more to do with creating thoughts that are linked into things that have already happened in the past. So experiences that you're involved in leave an impression on the fluids in the body. So if you ever read anything by Dr. Emoto, then there's this identification or idea that fluid becomes affected by what it's exposed to. So your body is full of fluid, and you go and do something, maybe you go to a concert, some people say certain things to you, it kind of gets into your body, it gets into the fluids, and as your kidney and bladder are kind of processing that, you get it coming back through your mind as reflection. So again, a strong example of that would have been if you've been listening to loud music, your whole body becomes buffeted by the sound of the music. You go home, you lie down on your bed, and all you're still hearing rattling around in you is the music. And then, like I said, your kidney and bladder wash it out a bit like the washing machine until eventually that vibration isn't within you anymore. Okay, so why this is, and that part of the life side that corresponds to is having enough time and space to sit and actually reflect. I don't think I did actually the metal elements. The metal elements obviously corresponds to, actually cleaning up the trash that's around you. If you're living somewhere that's unclean and unclear, then your metal element's going to complain about that. But just going back to the water element, it's about having that space where you can actually have that time to reflect. So if you're not doing that, and you're not having that time to reflect and create wisdom, then your kidney and bladder internally will keep nagging at you saying, look, I need a rest here. We need some space so that we can kind of process this stuff that's been going on and get some understanding of it. Right, so we've looked a little bit at how areas of your life can affect these organs. But it's also true that sometimes the organs might be inherently stressed and it's not actually related to the area of your life. So sometimes we can look at these things from a slightly more objective point of view. So if you're living in an extremely comfortable, luxurious environment, it doesn't even have to be luxurious, it just has to be somewhere comfortable, you're getting fed really well, but yet you still feel undernourished, so no matter what is in front of you on the plate of your life, then for example it's a sign actually that the spleen and stomach are actually struggling and a little bit stressed, and it's not the area of your life that needs tweaking. It's actually the organs themselves that need tweaking, which is why we've also got internal therapies such as acupuncture. So sometimes when we don't understand the function of our body internally, we just kind of play around with different areas of our life. Whereas with things like acupuncture, we're doing a bit of fine-tuning to what's going on inside. Similarly, if you've got incredibly loving relationships around you, and for all intents and purposes, you're doing the things that you love in your life, but yet you just don't feel that sense of joy and connection and passion, that can be a sign as well that, the heart and small intestine and heart functions, that element is out of balance and stressed. And again, you might not need to change relationships or change your job or do anything like that. It might be that just again, the organs themselves need tuning. So again, things like acupuncture, any of the internal therapies, yoga, meditation, the multitude of different bodywork modalities that you can do. With the liver and gallbladder, the wood element, it could be that your entire life is essentially mapped out in front of you and you've got it all planned out. There's loads of opportunities, there's loads of new growth going on, but yeah, if you don't feel satisfied with that, and your mind is constantly going on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and it never feels like there's enough growth and it never feels like there's enough development. Again, that can be that the liver and gallbladder themselves are stressed, and again they need the work. With the metal element, you might have plenty of space in your life, plenty of room to feel inspired. You might live in a clean and energetically and physically clean environment, but if you're constantly feeling like there's some stuff that's just still sitting with you that needs to be thrown out and you can't get rid of it, then again that can be a sign that actually it's the organs themselves that are out of balance, some stuff you just can't let go of. And with the water element, if you've got loads of time and space, and you're having lots of rest and lots of time to reflect, but yet you never quite feel like you've caught up with yourself. Again, also that can be a sign that it's the organs themselves that are out of balance. So there you go, I hope that's useful. Thanks a lot, bye bye.